Good day to all of you guys. My name is Matteo Rizzi. I'm the co-founder of FTS Group and a financial inclusion and impact investor for many years now. I'm super excited to introduce the following panel, and because the duration of it is just 20 minutes, allow me just to tell you that we have Hector Mancera, who is the director of digital products of Santander Mexico, Jose Wolf, VP Digital Transformation of Axion, and Rohit Agarwal, Head of US for Kiva. None of these institutions actually or companies need introduction, which is a great news. You just need to figure out that the topic is financial inclusion. And I would love to start by actually getting all of us sort of on the same page. So let's start with some definition and how each of you guys sort of feel and sort of explain both its involvement and as well as what their company does into the space. Why don't we start with Jose? Jose, welcome to the panel.
Hi, great. Thanks, Matteo. First of all, let me to start to say that I'm very happy to be today with you and here with Hector and Rohi and being sharing this panel. I think, as you know, Axion, we have been working for the last 60 years, pushing financial inclusion around the world, working with many financial institutions, microfinance institutions in this road mapping. And in the late days, we're working very actively in helping them to work in the digital transformation space and developing a very specific ecosystem to be able to push more digital products that are accepted into the space. I think for us, financial inclusion is very simple. It's just about building a more equitable world that with a financial system that works for everyone. And I think that's key because something that we have seen is we need to push for a financial system that really meets the client's needs in terms of usability, and second, that is affordable. I think one of the key issues that we have seen in some specific segments is we need to start developing financial products that are really affordable and that really helps to push that adoption. And as we make progress in the adoption of the financial system, now I think the second wave is how do we make the not only the adoption but the use to increase. And I think that's something that is very important. And affordability has been one of those stoppers. And we are working with not only with the traditional financial system players, kind of banks and financial institutions, also very happy to start working with more fintechs and startups that we believe are pushing innovation into the ecosystem. And we are very happy to see as well them collaborating with the traditional players in the space.
Thank you, Jose. Why don't we let one of the poster child of financial inclusion, Kiva, and Rohit, what's your view on this?
Yeah, I think for Kiva, for so long since we started in early 2000s, it was focused internationally, and that for us, we know there's 1.7 billion people that are unbanked, and I think for us the definition there is how do we bring them into the formal financial system, or how do they have access to capital? And our mission statement is to give everyone the power to change their lives. So that's I'd say the core focus of Kiva. I lead our U.S. program, which, when you think of the U.S. developed country, but when you look deeper into it, our focus here is very much, there's about 30 million small businesses in the United States. There used to be about 31 million. We've already lost about a little close to 1 million due to the pandemic. For us, we think there's about 1.5 million small businesses in the U.S. that cannot access affordable capital. These are entrepreneurs that are seeking to grow their businesses. They tend to be micro businesses, those with anywhere from 1 to 10 employees. That's really our focus. We call them financially excluded entrepreneurs here at home. And in here, they tend to be women and people of color are the disproportionate percentage of those that owns these business that we target. So as we think about financial inclusion, we think about it becoming even more important here in the United States since the pandemic, and also as a tool for us to try to close the racial wealth gap that is so persistent here in the U.S.
Okay, the last but not least, Hector, the point of view of a global financial institution with a particular focus on financial inclusion. Well, actually, you guys, have inaugurated a department of financial inclusion, isn't it, Hector?
That's right. I work in Tuyo, which is the financial inclusion arm of Santander Mexico, and Santander is very interested in reaching to people that either have no access to any products or have lack access to some products, or that actually have access, but in such conditions that the products that are being offered to them create more exclusion than inclusion. We believe that financial inclusion should actually transform into financial empowerment. So as Jose and Rohit were saying, if we do not offer affordable products, but also products that are changing and impacting their lives beyond the economics, but also in their socioeconomic context, we are missing an opportunity. So Santander goes to all these people, and the same as in Rohit, most of our clients are women. In financial inclusion, we see that women are typically more excluded than men, and we also believe that we have to go after their families to offer not only products but services that can help the whole community.
Thank you, Hector. Actually, the first sort of conversation I would like all of us to jump into is, there is no doubt that this pandemic in this context sort of made the whole market and the whole set of customer undistinctly, leapfrogging right into, and made all of us to forcefully progress, in our digital inclusion, whether we are talking about individuals or SMEs, right? And but at the same time, this could also be a threat, right? It's a threat because there is an increased perception of risk, as well as because you're sometimes you all of a sudden need to help more people, but maybe there is no data available. And on the other hand, make maybe the link between digital inclusion and financial inclusion even stronger, So what would be like your experience, and how are you living this sort of very specific and peculiar context these days, when as far as this type of business and involvement with the clients is concerned? Maybe Hector, I see you were nodding a lot, so I know you understand the question very well.
Yes, well, in our case, 92% of our customers are low-income women, and we are located in semi-rural and cities, semi-rural areas and cities, and we have been experiencing much more lack of digital adaptation than we would have thought. A lot of our customers do not even have an email. Many of them do have a smartphone, but they basically use it as a phone or to send WhatsApps. But there is not much more adoption. So what we have seen is that even though the digital part is a key component, and our whole business strategy and business model is based on technologies and on digitalization, because that'll allow us to lower costs and to reach many more customers. We still need face-to-face interaction in order for our customers to build trust, which is the most important part, for them to have trust in in digital money, in digital transactions, and in digital applications, and to have a phase out for them to self-manage in a digital way. But at the beginning, they need this face-to-face interaction that lowers their anxiety.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I think, Hector, what we've seen a lot, because in the US, we are, our application is fully digital, and we've done a lot of work since the pandemic to actually shorten, make it, streamline it, and make the application easier, more mobile friendly, et cetera, as we saw just a very, very rapid May. That has leveled off, and we're seeing it actually increase again now with the lack of a second stimulus fund put through in the US market. But the one thing we have seen is because of this digital literacy piece, there still needs to be a significant degree of interaction with the borrower. And the way we've tried to address that to try to scale is in a bit maybe easier in the United States, has been really focusing with our partners. So we have a lot of nonprofit partners and city governments that can provide these supports across the US. And so a lot of times they provide kind of the technical assistance to help our borrowers through the application. But us expecting we have so many applicants that fall off because of this kind of digital literacy issue. And I know, I think in our work abroad, it's the same thing as there. We work through, microfinance partners. A lot of them need that face-to-face interaction, which I think will continue to be less so, but right now it's definitely needed at this time.
Jose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think totally agree with Hector and Rahid on those points. I think what we are seeing here in LATAM and in the region specifically is the pandemic having a devastating effect in the MSME market. CIL is just forecasting 21% of the SMEs going out of business by 2020. So I think there is some imperative need from the MSMEs to get into a digital economy. And I think kind of the question is, how do you help them to really go into a digital model that will help them to buy better, sell better, and operate better? And I think that's kind of the quick question. So in my point of view, I think we should move from a transactional point of view on the financial inclusion and move more into a holistic approach that is not just pushing financial services, because we have seen most of them, when you just push the financial services, they don't have the trust or the need to really adopt them. I think we should be going with a more holistic approach that is addressing all the pain points to get them into that digital economy. So how do you teach them to do e-commerce, to do digital marketing, to get into the digital platforms? I think that's the key question that we are seeing. And it's very imperative as they are going out of business, and how to avoid that digital divide that may happen into the segment.
It's funny, Jose, that you, as I usually don't like to prepare the conversation too much, because I like to keep the natural tone of a conversation. But we are actually going exactly where I wanted to bring the conversation in the next step. The fact that when we talk about financial inclusion, there is the word financial in it. It seems that payments, bank or mobile accounts are actually the step one, right? Like the conditio sine qua non. But what we are observing, and actually, I'm investing in Africa, and I see it every day, that right now, the financial of it almost become simple, it's almost become infrastructure, but it's less and less evident. And the way to financially include people, maybe sometimes it goes through, a transportation app, or an health, a nurse platform that basically connect the patients and nurses, like an healthcare application. So it's almost like the payments or the physical financial inclusion of people becomes a mean to an end, and sometimes that end is a completely other, is a different purpose, than include people financially. You see what I mean? Anyone wants to give it unmute all of you guys. It's we are all in silence, so we can actually have a conversation. Rohit, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. Essentially, a means to an end in terms of financial inclusion. I think we'd like to get there. I think what you just described is where we think it's going. It's in terms of how can you get money when you need it for a certain purpose. And I think that is just in the same way I think personalized learning is going there. It's kind of, I think about it as personalized financial inclusion for what you need. And it also creates better repayment, I think better risk, because we deal normally with loan products. So I think we are starting to get better at understanding, right now we ask a lot of borrowers, what is the use of proceeds? But I think if we get more closer to that, as you're describing, it'll be better for our overall portfolio. I think one thing that's unique to Kiva on this in terms of this personalization is we are a crowdfunding platform. And so what we do see, and I think this might be the next iteration of it, right now it is the crowd chooses who they're funding around the platform. The 1.8 million people come to the website and choose which loans. And I think there's a lot of data we can learn from there as well in terms of what are the preferences, what types of loans, what types of proceeds, and that could lead us into more of this, I call it, to your point, this means to an end or personalized approach.
Absolutely. I totally agree that we need to have a comprehensive approach, and it's not only products or services, it's the whole ecosystem. And but financial inclusion through financial products is the first step. For instance, we have many clients that never before the pandemic were selling their products online. And now that they have a bank account, a digital bank account, and that they have money from their credit, they are actually growing their businesses and starting to sell their products for the first time through Amazon and so on and so forth, which was the first ever experience for them. We also created a digital marketplace for our customers because our customers are so little and they are micro entrepreneurs that when you Google a shoe store or a pharmacy or a drugstore, they are not gonna pop up in that search. So we have created a digital marketplace for them to actually empower their own community and their mom and pop shops in the community. And we have created digital courses with financial education. We go after many different aspects of their life, even if they are not digital financial products per se, to actually empower and go to the ultimate goal, which is the financial empowerment and to have social impact.
Yeah, if I just may add very quickly to that point, Matteo, I'm very happy to see that new fintechs and challengers have proposed new approaches, and we are seeing many financial institutions following into going outside the vertical of financial services and improving the footprint to go beyond that vertical and having a more holistic approach. We are working with many financial institutions around the world, helping them to really accomplish this digital transformation. And I think that's something that is happening, but I think what's something that the new fintech ecosystem is bringing the speed to market and putting the pressure into the more traditional financial players as well.
Actually, Jose, I had a follow-on question on this, because statistically speaking, if we take the majority of the startups in LATAM, but as well as in emerging markets, they have an impact in financial inclusion, direct or indirect, right? Because even if they're not directly fintech startups, as I was saying, the consequences of it is either a digital inclusion or an inclusion of services, or certainly they are impacting the life of people, right? To put it in a generic way. How is the panorama changing right now? What do you see? I mean, as with the point of view of an investor, do you see that? And of course, these super challenging times, but in terms of finding entrepreneurs, reinsuring the current entrepreneurs, what do you see right now? What's your current experience?
I think we are seeing here in Latam a very nice fintech ecosystem growing very fast. As you know, maybe Mexico, Brazil, and Colombia leading the trend, but many other countries following very quickly. I think the regulatory space is evolving fast, and that's providing a lot of inclusion for these new players, which is helping to bring more innovation into the financial space. And in terms of capital raising, as you know, maybe difficult time due to COVID, but still there is some activity going. And I think as we move in 2021, hopefully things will ramp up again.
Question for Rohit, which is going to be already the last one, guys, because our time is almost over. But in the coming months, hopefully, like through the last miles of this pandemic, do you think that the challenge is going to be more like on the buying side or on the selling side for you, Rohit? I mean, because there was really no short of capital just before COVID hit, right? That was the venture capital and the PE business was never flourishing that much.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that the trust of the mass affluent, right, which are typically your type of customer, will be like impacted by this pandemic, or on the contrary, it will be pushed because people will actually be sort of looking for alternative type of investments that are less like market standards. What's your opinion, Rohit?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for us, our main focus, if you look at, and I'll take Kiva overall, on what we see, we're a two-sided marketplace. One, I think we definitely have demand from entrepreneurs looking for capital. And that is, I think COVID has created a new normal on that side of the platform. And there's definitely borrowers. I think you've also seen a lot of people that might have lost their jobs or using this time as a reset to start their own business, or try to think this is a time to do it. So we're definitely seeing that side of our platform see a lot of demand. There's definitely a lot of hunger for capital. On the other side, our capital, and we are seeing an interest from banks, traditional banks, to try to look at alternative investments as part of this. I think here in the US, and it focuses even more broad, this societal push, I think overall in terms of what are you doing for a triple bottom line type of business, or what are you doing in terms of your CSR responsibilities, is creating, whether you look at Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or other types of big banks, to make commitments into, I'd say, more alternative type investments or impact investments. That I think is a good tailwind for Kiva in the space overall. I think the other thing that we deal with, is honestly, there's just a lot of noise. So there's 1.8 million individuals that come to the platform to lend. They care a lot about different causes, microfinance being one of them, and financial inclusion. It's consistency being top of mind for them, and growing that pie, that number from 1.8 million to 2 to 2.5 million, I think is getting harder than it was when microfinance was new and sexy, maybe about 10 to 15 years ago. And so for us, it's continuing to figure out what message is resonating with lenders to come to our platform as they look at other potential investment vehicles or donation routes.
Thank you, Rohit. And maybe a question for Hector, more into the interactions, in between the startup ecosystem and Santander. Santander is historically one of the first, and recently with the creation of Moro Capital, there are all my good friends, by the way, and they are very involved in the startup investment side. How are you guys interacting with Mexican entrepreneurs, especially with the ones that are dealing in this space?
Well, we believe that we need to work together, and fintechs and entrepreneurs are forcing us to work faster and to think outside the box, but also to work with them. Santander actually promotes and invests in a lot of new companies, and especially fintechs. And in the end, we have different products that, because of these associations, we have been able to put out in the market. For instance, we are we have a product that we can send money through WhatsApp, and that's because we formed an alliance with a fintech that was developing this solution. But every year we foster and we invest in different fintechs, and it is actually helping us and changing every aspect of how we perceive the future, and even in the way we're working inside the bank, and the way we're structuring and placing our mindset is being influenced by these new companies, and especially entrepreneurs and young entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Hector. So guys, our time is over. I wish to all of us that if you repeat such a panel in 12 months from now, condition will be, very different. We'll all be like smiling, hopefully much more, and all of this will be, part of the past. For now, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you, Joe, for inviting us. This is FinTech Americas. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.